Greetings, esteemed viewer, I am Tabletop Nick, and welcome to How to Build a Good Deck. If you are a carpenter and you came here hoping to build a decent veranda, you have come to the wrong place. This is about cards, and building decks of them. I'm sorry for the confusion, but this is not what you want. Okay, so I've been playing trading card games for about 62% of my life, which is a significant percentage, and my favourite part of it has always been the building the decks. You know, getting your cards, looking at them, seeing what sort of combos they make, seeing what's good, seeing what's not, and putting them together. I especially love seeing it come to fruition. So, by now, I'm actually quite good at it, I think, and I'd like to share some of my wisdom. And the first part of my wisdom is drawn-on beards and moustaches are kind of annoying. Please don't get into that because it's just stupid. I regret the decision to ever start. The first thing you need to do when you're actually building a deck, though, is you need to find a theme or an idea. Now, when I say theme or idea, I mean it has to be very concise. You aren't going to be very efficient by just going, this archetype looks good, I'm going to throw it together in a deck and see how it goes. That is still too haphazard. You might want to take a few cards from that archetype and see what works, because that's generally a better idea. Essentially what I'm saying is, your deck should have a key idea, and if you can't pull out of your deck one or two cards that are key cards, then you probably need to be more concise. As an example, let's look at one of my favourite decks to build in Legendary, which is the Rescue Team, because it involves in rescuing bystanders. Now your key cards here are Covert Operation and Dangerous Rescue, which respectively get stronger the more bystanders you've rescued, and lets you rescue more bystanders. Good, we've got our key idea. Excellent. Now we need to get into something else. So step 2 is our engine. Now your engine is actually more important to the deck than your key cards, because this is how you get to your key cards and make them work. The word engine in a card game refers to how well the deck goes through its cards and gets to its endpoint. It includes things like what it can do every turn, and how it creates a better situation for you each turn. In a lot of trading card games, your engine is going to want to be revolving around drawing more cards to get to the situation you want to be in. With the deck builder, it typically means drawing more cards while weeding out the less useful ones from the deck, while simultaneously creating a good situation for your end cards, which, as I've said, are Covert Operations and Dangerous Rescue. Luckily for this deck, Dangerous Rescue actually helps out as part of the engine, because it can get you more bystanders while trimming out cards from the deck. You also use Mission Accomplished to get more bystanders and draw cards, and then you team her up with the Jean Grey cards. You have Psychic Search, which gets you more bystanders, and then you have 2 cards which actually benefit from you getting bystanders. Read Your Thoughts getting more recruiting points, and Mind Over Matter drawing cards when you rescue bystanders. This is all good. So now we know what the engine for this deck is. Gain bystanders, benefit from that. Build up a big stack of bystanders in your victory pile so that you can power up these 2 cards. In your deck it might be something entirely different. Your key cards might be Night Howler, and you might want to build up a gigantic graveyard so that your Night Howler comes out hitting heavily. That's completely fine, as long as you have an engine that does that. Finally, the last thing you need to know for deck building is consistency. Consistency is important. And this is why extra cards that don't really have much of a purpose there aren't that great, because they stymie your consistency. They stop it from working. With a deck building game, consistency means getting multiple copies of the same card while simultaneously weeding out the ones you don't want anymore. This means that as you draw through the deck, you are getting the same effects every turn, which is what you want. In a trading card game, consistency means routinely getting to the same spot every game. Part of this is having multiple copies of the same card. I cannot stress this enough. If your card is useful, have as many copies of it as you can. The more copies of a card you have, the more times you get to use it. The more copies of a card you have, the more likely you are to draw it from the deck. This is also why it's ill-advised to have decks that exceed the minimum card limit. The more cards in your deck, the less likely it is you're going to draw something good. Let's go back to the Night Howler example from before. Night Howler is allowed at 4, so you have 4 of them. Cards that put things in the grave are allowed at 4, so you have 4 of them. Another great side effect of having multiple copies of good cards is that you don't have to worry about filling out the space later. When you've got 4 copies of this good card, you don't have to fill out the space with 1 copy of this bad card. So consistency really is probably the most important part of deck building. You need your deck to be doing the same thing multiple times, if you want your idea to work, at least. If not, go nuts, put whatever you want in there. So those are my 3 hints to building a deck. The only other things I can say, if you go to ask someone who you think is pretty good at the game what they think of your deck, and they tell you, well, this doesn't work, this doesn't work, this doesn't work, listen to them. Do not throw a tantrum or decide, oh, I'll just keep it in anyway. They told you this because you asked. If we're talking about trading card game and you can't quite afford to make this deck consistent, try for a cheaper deck. You can still make a very good deck out of cheaper cards by following these steps. And of course, most importantly, have fun. I cannot stress that enough. These tips are designed to help you win, yes, but you should also be able to have fun with them. I mean, I use these steps all the time when I build decks, and I don't even build good ones, I build fun ones, and they still go pretty alright. So, you can have fun with a game. If you want to hear about more decks from a different kind of game, go check out the Zero Badges podcast, because they talk about the Pokemon trading card game all the time. As in, it's their thing that they talk about. And if you want to learn more about games in general, then go check out your local game store. I'm here to tell you that Good Games is a great place to go. If you're ever in the Newcastle area, go check out Good Games Newcastle. You might even see me there. It's a statistically high probability. They're a great place with loads of friendly people. It'll be awesome. You should do it. I have been Tabletop Nick, and this was deck building. With cards, not verandas. Okay, bye!